Good morning. This is the DelDOT committee meeting. Today is Wednesday, September 8th, 2025. Please join me in a pledge of allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, first we'll start off with a roll call. Bob McKee, Mayor and Chairman, I ask you to introduce yourself as we go around the room, please. Ellen?
Mark Lutz, Chief Engineer at DelDOT.
Peter Haig, DelDOT Chief of Traffic Engineering.
Ashley Sander, Assistant Town Manager.
Marty Presley, Councilman. Ron O'Neill, President Pro Tem.
Jamie Burke, Town Manager.
All right, thank you and welcome. Start off first with a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Jamie, were we going to flip flop 1 and 2?
I think we played that.
Okay.
Which way?
And the next is approval of the minutes, please. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second, Ron?
Second, I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right, so moved. All right, first are the public comments. We had an individual write in.
Right. So this public comment is from Tim Crowley, 33413 Hickory Street. Mr. Crowley writes, I hope you're all having a good day. I'm writing about my concern regarding truck traffic on Sheep Pen. As you know, Sheep Pen runs down the middle of North Shore side of Plantation Lakes. While we were expecting increased truck traffic from the bypass, the large trucks do not belong in this residential area. Just this morning, I saw both a chicken truck and a tanker truck within 30-minute span. It's both a safety and quality of life issue. On any given day, you will find dozens of people walking, riding their bikes, scooters, or crossing the road to get to the community center pool. In the presentation that I saw, all of the truck traffic was supposed to be directed to 113. In your next meeting with DelDOT, can you please approach them about restricting truck traffic on Sheep Pen? I also have communicated my concerns with Representative Collins and Senator Pettyjohn to see what they can do with DelDOT. Thank you for your help, Tim Brown. That's our only public comment. Simon, any public comment online? Thank you.
Okay, and one correction, if I may, I gave the date of today's meeting as September 8th. It's October 8th. I'm off a month. Okay. This will be a pretty loose format. First of all, thank you, gentlemen from DelDOT, for joining us. We value your thoughts, your expertise, and everything that you do for the town and the movement of people and goods and materials. So thank you again. First thing on the agenda we wanted to talk about is the traffic signal at the entrance to Plantation Lakes development on 24. What is the latest status you can give us with that?
Sure. So we were intending to be out there today to do some striping, but the weather is hindering that. So we're hoping maybe like a day or two with a delay in the weather. Right now we have it on October 14th to put the signal on flash, which would then be flash for 72 hours. And then right now our go live date is October 17th. I will say those last two dates could be shifted again by a couple days, mainly just because we want to get the striping completed before it's activated.
Okay, very good. That'll be welcome news for all parties involved. The second item, we talked about previously about the speed reduction on Route 24 from Delaware Avenue to Lewis and Mumford Roads. So is that something that's being worked on now that we can see in the near term, and what is required to make that happen?
Sure. So right now we're drafting it's called our legal resolution, which then authorized kind of the legality of the regulatory change. That was signed on October 2nd. It's getting kind of finalized, kind of internally on our side. Once that's finalized, we'll be able to share that with the town. And then it'll eventually need to be a joint effort, because the signs that are state responsibility, that really fall outside of the town limits, and then there's areas that are within the town limit that then would be on the town's responsibility to procure those signs and get those changed. Again, town has the ability to go work through our sign shop. And I'll provide that contact information to the town once we have that final document to share with you. And you can order signs directly through our sign shop. At cost, but that's really right now, once it's finalized, which hopefully will be open.
Excuse me.
Okay. As far as the lead time on the signs, is that an issue that we should plan and order signage now, or are they readily available?
These are standard signs, so they're usually readily available. Our sign shop turns around signs pretty quickly. So I don't see any delays associated with that.
All right, along with that, I hadn't noticed anything in the way of flashing, yellow flashing lights as you're approaching the new traffic signal going eastbound. That's something that had been talked about because of the curvature in the roadway. Is that something that's in the works as well, or in conjunction with the reduced speed limit?
So we do not have anything on our program for that application. When you look at the available site distance, which is a part of the design process for the installation of a signal, with the current speed limit, we exceed those engineering standards for stopping sight distance, and also the projected queue lengths of the signal. We don't foresee an issue from a stopping sight distance perspective with regards to that as well. But again, it doesn't hinder if the town would like to pursue, a flashing beacon. We have what are called spinners, where it's more just the wind and it spins and can be applied on the sign. So the town certainly can pursue those ideas if deemed necessary. But right now, as part of our signal design and the activation, we do not have anything programmed.
So the current speed at 50 or 45 approaching that signal,
Correct,
so that would not pose a problem.
correct.
I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here because I've complained about this for incessantly forever. And I'm not an engineer, so I don't, but it's readily available information on the internet that at a tractor trailer at 8,000 pounds going 50 miles an hour would require 310 feet to stop. And if you know where that line of sight begins, that would limit it to 16 cars in queue at that traffic signal before he slams into the back of them, school bus, whatever. When I came here about 15 minutes ago, there was 32 cars on the same road in queue at the light at 10 o'clock in the morning, which is slow period. That traffic signal is going to back up more than 16 vehicles.
So before we do before the decision on any traffic signals, we evaluate those projections based on predictive methods and national software. So with the introduction of a traffic signal, that eastbound direction is projected based on our analysis of simulating traffic at that intersection about 275 feet based on the current conditions when we count it. The sight distance that's available today to that intersection is just under 650 feet.
It's nowhere near that. I walked it, filmed it.
So granted, the warning sign alone for the new signal is going to be placed approximately 540 feet from the stop bar.
Okay, so you're putting a warning signal there.
A warning sign.
So it'd be like new intersection ahead or stoplight ahead or.
It would be a standard signal head warning sign, so it'd be yellow within the image of a traffic signal, red, yellow, green. On that, it would then also have a plaque to then identify the crossroad, so the Plantation Lakes Boulevard.
Right.
And then we would have a new plaque go on above that to then just to advise motorists that this traffic signal is a new application.
Gotcha.
So based on your line of, if you've been around that turn approaching the signal light, how many cars could be in queue before it causes a problem for an 80,000-pound truck?
I do not have that information or that calculation. Again, our projections are showing about a 270-foot queue from the stop bar during a peak hour condition, and that would occur during the AM condition.
So that 270-foot queue takes you past the bend in the roadway going towards Godwin School? So I think that's the important point. It's when the queue is less than the curvature that you're coming up without knowing what's there. When the queue is extended longer beyond the curve, then it's in plain view.
But then that's what the warning, again, those warning devices, those warning signs are then meant to, again, grab a driver's attention at a specific distance to then warn them of, again, you have a certain distance, then stop should the signal be in red, or change to yellow, in advance. But again, it doesn't prohibit the town from pursuing if there's an enhancement like a flashing beacon, which other municipalities have chosen to do, or again, a cheaper alternative is to put what are called spin alerts, which again, they're just during the wind and they'll just spin to kind of draw that extra attention to that warning sign.
Yeah, I guess that's still my concern is even if the truck driver is going the legally posted speed limit, 80,000-pound truck, he's not going to have time to stop. You're saying, I think we're saying the same thing. You're saying your queue is 270 feet?
To about 275 feet.
Okay, so the truck needs at 50 miles an hour needs 310 to stop.
At the current posted speed limit.
Correct. That's why
And
we're
so
trying to
now
push
we're-
you to get the
And
speed
now we're
limit.
getting, and so with the change of the speed limit, again, that's going back to the last quote we were talking about, that it would need, it's mainly paperwork right now. And then once that paperwork is processed and I send that over to you guys, then it's a matter of you guys coordinating with our sign shop, if that's the direction you want to go, to procure the signs and then install them. There are a few signs that we have to take care of because they're just outside the town limits. But all the other signs within that change would be in the town limits. So then it would be the responsibility of you guys to then implement. But again, when you change that speed limit, that sight distance or the braking distance, that changes for any type of vehicle based on
Yeah,
speed
I
limit.
mean, if you recall, our original resolution was asking for a speed limit reduction at 35 at Mumford and 25 at Godwin, which would put it with that viewpoint coming around that bend, would put it in a much safer position. We got shot down on the 35 at Mumford. You said you wouldn't even entertain that. And now we're still hesitating or putting off the 35 at Godwin, which Godwin, you know, is the point where a truck driver will see that traffic queue.
Mhm.
And if there's 16 cars in line, he's not going to have time to stop. He's really not going to have time to stop at 35, but.
So first of all, Councilman, appreciate the concerns. Don't want to say, so our calculations don't support the concerns that you have. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to turn the signal on and then ignore it, right? So anytime we change a traffic control, or just like, we're monitoring traffic all around town with the bypass. So we're going to monitor. We'll stay in touch with you all, right? You all are here every day. Peter lives in the area. He's gonna drive by on a regular day. We have our staff, so we're gonna observe it and see how it works once it gets turned on. The other thing, you just think about you're taking the queue that we have, the backups that we have at 113. Like, there's very little green time for that approach on one. Like, most of the green time is for the 113 and all the other movements there. At Plantation Lakes, most of the green time is going to Route 24. So you can't just take the 30 cars that are waiting in front of the Wawa there and move them back, because they're going to have far more green time at Plantation Lakes. So that's why our calculations are showing we're going to have a much shorter backup at that location. So it's the combination, really, that's the main thing, is that
I
our
agree.
calculations of the sight lines, as well as the much shorter expected backups, is why we're comfortable with it without some enhanced warnings. Just our standard warnings, which is, again, like Peter said, the sign.
And I don't disagree with what you said. I think it will be less, especially if there's more green time on 24. but 16 cars is not a lot of cars on that road. 16 cars is, I mean, I've seen it backed up a mile, from 24 well past Delaware Avenue, almost to
Understood.
Boulevard. So 16 cars is, and it's the same traffic, right? It's the same road. It's only a quarter mile down the road. So I would just, whatever you can do to get that speed limit reduced as quick as possible I think would be best safety interest for all concerned.
How does this particular intersection compare to the one on 24 just before we get to Love Creek Bridge? As you're coming around the corner there at the grog shop, there is a flashing light there, I believe, that indicates a red light ahead. And I can't think of distances now, but how does that compare? And was that light originally installed, or did you have to come back and install that warning light? Or do you remember that? It's been a while, I know, but
Right. Well, and then plus we just had a project out there, so we'd have to go back and check the history, and we could cross compare it, right? I don't have that in front of me of how the geometry is versus
yeah,
the traffic volumes, the distances, the curvature. Yeah, we could compare them, and yeah, again, I don't remember if we put that flashing beacon in. I don't remember the history of that beacon. Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's been there for a while.
Yeah, that's what I think it was there before our most recent project, but I don't know if it was installed when the signal was originally installed. So yeah, we'd have to go check the history on all that.
Okay. All right. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now currently on Laurel Road at 24 East, there's your towable variable message sign telling you that there's a traffic pattern change ahead. It's talking about October 17th. So I didn't see anything going eastbound though. Is that something that could be considered and left out there for a period of time until we resolve the issue on the speed?
So we have one out there
There's one
leaving town right now.
in the westbound direction. Yeah.
We should have one coming into town.
Yeah. I did not see one going east.
Yeah, because that's standard procedure. So we'll double check that. If it's not out there, we'll get that out there. Because yeah, what you just said, we should have that in both directions. And it'll typically, right, it'll say new traffic pattern coming,
Right.
whatever date. And then the day that we turn it on, we'll flip it to new traffic pattern, caution, 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 or something like that.
For a
And
period
then
of
we
time.
usually leave it out there for a week or so.
It's 7 to 10 days about.
Right.
Yeah.
But that is something else. If we have any concerns, we could leave it out there for longer. And honestly, that's going to get your attention more than a flashing beacon anyway.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. And the only thing I have with that is that the way that current towable unit is positioned, it's right on the edge line. So, and there's barrels around it to protect the device from being hit. But now it's so tight up against that right edge line that people are starting to go over the double line of the middle of the road. So if it could be spaced off the road a little bit more, because people are seeing that, not realizing what the distance is, and they are going shading away from that, but now it's putting
We
in
can get it pushed
more
off
of
the road.
a head-on collision
Yep.
condition.
Yeah. Let's get our folks
So-
to.
It will-
We should be able to. Now, I'm not sure exactly how tight it is.
There's a grade and drops off as you go to the right, so a matter of moving.
We'll look at
device.
repositioning it both
Okay,
off, try to get it off the edge line a little bit more, and
Yeah.
even if we have to move it laterally
Yeah.
or longitudinally.
and leaving the other one out there eastbound until we resolve the speed limit issue, that could be a good thing. That's serving the purpose of having a yellow flashing light. Probably even more so, because people pay more attention to the BMS. So that would be helpful. All part of a learning process. These are people who use this roadway, habitually, and it's a change in habit.
Agree.
All right, the four-way stop sign at Delaware Avenue and Route 24. I know there was about 8 items or so, Ashley, for that we need to follow up and address.
I'm sorry, what was that?
The Delaware Avenue four-way stop sign,
Yes.
what about 8 items?
So it's in our packets here. Peter emailed me on
There we go.
October 2nd, with the items that have to be done. And then Simon, are we able to blow that up a little bit? So our Public Works directors, as well as our acting chief of police, all reviewed the layout, and none of them had concerns with the layout that was provided to us by Peter on October 2nd for the requested or for the recommended signage and striping plan. And then in Peter, as far as the resolution that the town has to execute, how does that, just so we're clear, once we bring back a kind of final copy, what do we need different from the beginning documents that we sent to you? Just all of that in a resolution form, would that be sufficient?
Correct, and then kind of similar to what you've done with the speed limit documents. So it would just be elaborating on kind of what is the justification surrounding the implementation of an all-way. It's a little bit different than like what is being done for the speed limit, but it would be kind of compiling all that information, kind of summarizing it, identifying it, and then submitting it over to us.
Okay. Do you need the crash data in that from that area as well, or is that not needed? Like it was needed for the speed limit?
If you have it, I would suggest including it.
Okay. How far of a history do you
I'll
need?
leave it that
Our
up to
discretion?
you guys,
Okay.
your discretion.
Is there some kind of legal requirement on the resolution? Because we did give you a resolution requesting that about a year ago. I believe also incorporated the data that you were asking for, but there was other things in the resolution like the speed limit reduction. But I believe DelDOT has classified that intersection as a level F service for decades. So if DelDOT is already determined to be a failing intersection, why would we need to do a resolution?
So it goes back to, so there's regulatory requirements
Okay, so there's something,
associated with that type of traffic control. So like, just like a traffic signal, there's justification components. Typically, it's looked at from an engineering perspective, and those regulatory conditions and criteria are outlined in the manual on uniform traffic control devices. And it looks at a lot of different ways or different components. You're talking volumes, crashes, those are the two primary things. There may be other things that, again, the town could utilize, again, whether it's vulnerable road users, so ped bike activity, economic development, things like that, that are what could be utilized in a town document to help justify the change. Those are kind of what the legal components that we're looking for, similar to the speed limit change, to then
is that
help
because we're
solidify
in
this.
that intersection's in city limits, or is that the reason? Because it is in city limits?
In city limits, typically, again, we're deferring to you guys as to what you want to change. Again, there's still the debate of whether an all-way versus a traffic signal is the viable option. Again, we're allowing you guys to pursue the all-way stop. Because there's, again, you guys live it, breathe it. You believe that could be the best traffic control at that location. But it doesn't deter you from going to the next step of a traffic signal in the future. This just allows you to get to that point of implementation for a totally different treatment. Because of Route 24, this is a totally different example or location than any municipal location that we've worked with other municipalities on kind of the implementation. Because there could be the concerns of, you mentioned the level of service issues, even with the implementation of an always stop. And so that's kind of like, if we do see those issues, then we're not gonna want that to remain out there for the permit or the foreseeable future, because now it's creating more of a hazard than what it's there to prevent or address.
Yeah, that's understandable. And like Bob said, we don't know what it's going to look like in a year from now. But we also know what it looks like now as far as how difficult it is to get through that intersection. And even now it's difficult to get through it. And we don't have the beach traffic. So I was just curious because it seems to me like that intersection is by DelDOT's acknowledgement failed for so long. Does DelDOT not have authority to do it since it's your road? we still got to come up with a resolution because it's in town limits.
So in previous meetings, the suggestion from DelDOT was to pursue a traffic signal at the location. And so we're not, if that town doesn't want to pursue a traffic signal, now we're gonna look to, for the town to then help solidify the alternative.
We were supportive of the traffic signal, as you remember from those previous meetings. I think what had happened when we had an update was that signal was going to be put on a back burner until we evaluate the new signal at Plantation Lakes Boulevard. Is that still correct? Or because I was in those meetings about, we talked about roundabout, four-way stop, and the traffic signal. We even talked about what type of arm we wanted. We would support the traffic signal. I don't know what the timeline is. I think that might be the other thing, is the urgency to get something done.
Right now, we don't have it programmed.
Okay.
So that's where, again, if the town does not want to pursue the always stop, then it would be, again, solidifying the town's position on what they want that intersection control to be. So if the town believes it should be a traffic signal, then that's the documentation that we would want. And then we can then start the design process, which I tell everybody typically is a year. And then once that piece is done, we're trying to program out. So it could be at least a 2 to 3 year process for a new traffic signal. But if you want to do something now on more of a shorter term implementation standpoint, then we're leaving that discretion up to the town as to the pursuit of the always stop. Again, putting the always stop, there's not a do the always and do the traffic signal, because if the always stop works, then why would we program the funding and the resources to then complete a design and then build the construction of a traffic signal?
Right.
But to answer your one question, yes, if it's in the town limits, Title 17, essentially, roughly, none of us, or not us being lawyers, roughly it's a joint decision if it's within town limits. And again, we want to support the request from the towns, Millsboro in particular, and municipalities in general, as much as we can. So I think some of it's just making sure that we have the documentation so that we can make sure we're satisfying our part of approving things within Title 17 and state code. And then, yeah, more practically, like you're saying, like, I think if we're all pushing, and it's completely reasonable, that's literally right in the manual that Peter said, that if you want if in any situation, if you're going to do a traffic signal long term, a reasonable interim solution is to do the always stop control. So there's the path that we appear to be going on is reasonable.
Not to interrupt or change gears, does anyone have any more questions for Lieutenant Moyer? He's got another obligation, so didn't have anybody have any other questions.
Do you have any technical related questions?
Yeah. All right, thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
I think from our discussions and our perspective is that I know a year and a half ago when you informed us that that DelDOT was leaning toward a traffic signal there. We knew that the bypass was open, and we knew there was eventually going to have to be a stoplight at Plantation Boulevard because 2/3 of our population uses that access point. So we were trying to look at it as the least minimal disruption as possible, and least cost wise. So we thought, do the stop sign first, and then if it's still a nightmare, then go ahead with DelDOT's conclusion on the traffic signal. But I personally think that this four-way stop sign will be all that's needed, and hopefully, once the new traffic patterns are established, that won't even be needed. But I think right now, especially since GPSs are taking beach traffic, bypassing, we got a bypass, it's called Delaware Avenue, that they turn on Delaware Avenue and pick up 113 at the liquor store on Handy Road. So we got a bypass there, and more people are using it. So it is a nightmare at that intersection right now. So I still think we need a four-way stop sign there until at least the new traffic patterns are established. And I think hopefully, maybe at some point we won't need it there.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I think it'll be helpful. I mean, going back a little bit, that's why I had hoped to get more of a comprehensive look at at several different intersections and then looking at the impact of the bypass because people are still learning a new behavior with the bypass. And we can talk about that. It's one of the items on here, depending what kind of data you have available. But, you know, we're finding trucks now, some are going down Godwin School Road. Some of them are taking 24 east and going through the center of town. And a few are going east and making a left turn onto 113 north. And this is in the off season. So all I did was last Monday, just go out there and sit in the Rite Aid parking lot and look at the behavior of trucks through that intersection there. And it was very telling, only in 1 hour period. The other thing that I noticed is that the huge amount of dump trucks that are going through the center of town. So again, based on what other data you may have available, then we start to think a little bit longer term now. We've talked with the poultry organizations about their trucking companies, and the ones that directly work for them were advised that they will use the bypass as a primary route, and they seem to be doing that. But it seems to be some of the other subcontractors that are hauling for maybe just the individual farmers that bring the product to the plant are not. So there's a further conversation that we'll have with the poultry industry. But whatever data you have in support of that is going to help as well. So I do believe, as Mr. Presley had said, that I think that Delaware intersection will normalize over time based on the metering of the traffic light at Plantation Lakes and the possibility of truckers changing their routes a bit.
I mean, it's skipping ahead a little bit, but we don't have any data to share today for the new bypass. Staff are analyzing and compiling and quality control checking the data that we had from basically from the first week that the bypass was open. So as soon as we have something that's been double checked and reviewed by everybody on our end, we'll share it with you all. So hopefully within the next few days, but don't have anything for today.
I appreciate that. I said, but the behaviors that I've seen is very few truckers headed eastbound or using the bypass, making left going north on 113, and truckers coming from the south going north on 113, they're making the first turn they can onto 24 to go through the center of town. So not what we were hoping for. A reduction in traffic for sure, though. I've been out on 24 when the Mount Air plant lets out, and the queuing there is way less than it was before. So it seems to be working.
And like you said, everything has to normalize. It's only been a week and a couple days. And then again, we've been talking about this for years in the planning for this, is that, once, give it a month and we'll see where we're at. And if we're still seeing, again, I'm not a truck driver. My brother's a truck driver, and I've literally, talked to him about this, and he's like, no way would I go through, again, the example you brought up, northbound on 113 wanting to go east. He's like, no way would I want to go through a small town with all the parking and all the everything going on. Like, I would just jump right up the road and take the bypass. But so some folks might just not know it's there yet. I was kind of checking it. Google wasn't even routing people onto the bypass until I think earlier this week. It took them at least a week to get it shown on Go. Waze was better. Waze was up and running like the day after. But the GPS systems, so right, that's all private. We do interact with them, the GPS companies, but they do what they want to do. And so again, Google is just finally starting to route people onto the bypass. Now, again, Google doesn't have a truck option. So there's truck GPS systems that are out there. But I don't know, any individual truck driver may be using a proper truck system, or they may be just using Google or Waze, which they're designed for the rest of us. They're not really designed for trucks. So that's a whole nother world that, again, we try to coordinate with the GPS companies, particularly Waze and Google, but they do their thing.
Right. I understand. And a concern as we get into the heavy summer period, Monday mornings, Tuesday mornings, traffic northbound on 113, stuck in the queue, which way the truck is going to go? They're going to go 24 business through town, or are they going to drive the extra mile and get to the bypass?
And that's certainly what, like I said, for years, we were talking about like, let's let it settle out. Let's see where it's at. And now, really over the next couple months, we can start talking more about like, do we need to formalize some truck restrictions, which are going to have us, it's going to be a similar team effort on truck restrictions. In fact, I think the truck restriction, so the your predecessors and others in the town have asked for truck restrictions, in the past. And in that situation, we could not accommodate that request because there was no viable alternate route. We said, let's get the bypass open. Let's see how it all fleshes out. Now there is a viable alternate route. So we can now talk more seriously about, if traffic doesn't do it on its own, okay, the next step would be legal restrictions. And again, it's right in Title 17. I think it says, the town may restrict trucks. And then, if it's on a state route, DelDOT has to approve it. So we can start similar to what Peter has sent you before about the stop sign and the speed limits. We can send you, look, this is what we're looking for from a request from a town standpoint, or what kind of data or analysis or whatever that we're looking for. And then you all would do your thing, send it back to us, and then we can kind of say, okay, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up with a truck restriction on business 24, in the relatively, we can all work together on that. And at the same time, we can start looking at like your public comment that came in. We have not looked at that yet. I don't have any data over there yet. But we can start looking at those requests as well.
Yeah. Now with regard to that request, is the bridge at Ingram Pond able to handle the weight of the trucks that are occasionally going through there
Yes.
onto Sheep Pen? It is.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I sent the, I don't have it with me, but I sent our bridge inspection data. We had,
I
don't
do
know if-
recall.
yeah, or
Okay.
if Jamie or Ashley remember, because I didn't bring that with me. I don't remember, but it's been inspected within the last 2 years. Like we were talking about in our informal meeting, most bridges get inspected every 2 years, if not more often. So there's no structural concerns. Yes, it is a somewhat of a narrow bridge. So
Yes. Yes.
but yeah, but structurally it's fine.
Okay. And presently, there's no restriction on on Godwin School Road, on the bridge, nor Sheep Pen that they're traveling.
No truck restrictions, I don't think.
Not that I'm aware of, but again, we can verify.
Yeah, just drove there today. I don't think there is.
No.
We will double check.
Okay, thank you.
I will say, taking a step back, I will congratulate Peter. I think it was you when we took the tour of the bridge. You said that you estimated 50% of the traffic in Millsboro would be using that bridge, and we all kind of looked at each other and kind of, yeah, that'll work. But it does seem to be working. I mean, just driving around town, the traffic is a lot easier getting in and out of town. So. I know there's still some points, and I agree. I think it's a learning experience right now with a lot of these truckers that are coming up. Northbound on 113, they're taking that first right like they always have, and I think it's just a learning experience. And maybe that's something that we need to go back to Mount Air specifically.
Yes.
It seems as though their trucks are using the bypass. Maybe it's some of these third-party guys that aren't used to where they are right now. And
Yeah,
be able
I
to
think
use that.
that's the case. Yes.
Our construction manager said the day we opened it, whatever time that was, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, literally the first vehicle from the public that used the bypass was a chicken truck. So we all said, yes, that is completely appropriate.
And it's worked out very well. I think we've only had, I don't think we've had any crashes up there on the bypass. I think there was a rear ender the very first morning, but they didn't even call the fire company. It was a PD only. So I don't think we've had anything up there. Everybody seems to be behaving themselves fairly well. So it's working out.
Okay.
Thank you.
If we can back up a bit now and just take a look at the speed limit amendment for Radish Road.
Yes, I've had communication with Sonia, and I wanted Moyer and Lieutenant Moyer, interim chief, and I were out riding around yesterday. For that, there was some confusion with the previous chief because the way the signage is set up and I understand now when I look at the inventory that we have here.
No, that's Delaware.
That's
Avenue.
Delaware.
Yeah.
It's 25 miles an hour up to a point where then it becomes 40 miles an hour. So on one side of the road, there's a 40-mile-an-hour sign, and then there's a 25 on the other because you're in two different zones. So a previous chief had said that it caused confusion. I want to just run that by our current chief, get you some data. Probably do a speed study out there too with our speed trailer. Is there anything more you would need other than just speed data? I mean, if we are requesting to lower the speed limit out there where it is 40, maybe extend the 25 zone. Same thing we're doing with the other speed adjustment.
Yeah, same thing that you did for 24.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I think it's in the emails, but in an area like that, the additional justifications beyond the actual speed data is bicyclists, pedestrians, it's a residential area nearby, this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah, I mean the new community behind Food Lion it wasn't there,
Right.
a
Yep.
few years
So
ago.
all those
that's
things
cool.
help just document
Got it.
the reasoning and then helps us on that side.
Yeah, and Jamie too, the other thing that I from the education side for like pursuing these speed limits is I always tell people in towns, like look at it from the macro level. So like yes, you have the community that's coming in, but if you have other plans like more annexation properties or
Yeah.
other ideas, it's at this time, do you extend those limits, those speed limits further out to
Mhm.
then just be able to capture kind of the future
Yeah.
growth and change that may occur later on so that we're doing it now versus a change in the
It's
future.
an interesting road because then Somerton Chase is going to be coming online up the road, but then there's
Correct.
a pocket of unincorporated Millsboro, county between, in that area. So
And that's fine. We usually say, like look at your, in this case, the most western limit
Mhm.
that you will have.
Yeah.
And yes, you may have like pockets of county. We typically are saying no, it's really you're trying to change the environment because these areas are a part of the incorporated area.
Mhm.
The best example that I provide you is like when you think about the hospital that went in Milford.
Yeah.
There was a lot of annexation ideas during that discussion. So instead of just changing it right when the hospital came in, we then considered all those annexed
Mhm.
parcels, even though some may switch between county and
Sure.
municipality. And we just created one uniform speed limit for the whole area.
Got it.
So Peter, I'm sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
Would it be helpful to add in there since Weiss is coming into town and that's going to be a highly traveled road to the route of Weiss from a lot of the individuals on the western side of 113? Would that be a good add-in for
That'd be
that?
perfect.
Okay.
That's it. Like again, the economic growth.
Yeah.
Again, you guys live it, you breathe it, you know what's going on. And so we like to utilize that information to then help to justify the change.
Okay.
So I'm clear. Are we talking about only the section of roadway from Delaware to 113 by Food Lion? Or are we talking about extending it on the other side of Handy or Delaware out toward Somerton Chase?
I think it would be smart to go out all the way, uniform out to
Mhm.
Somerton
Yeah.
Chase.
And we can incorporate that all in one.
Because then you're gonna have, there's an interconnection there between Somerton Chase and
Right.
Plantation Lakes, so it'll be a cut through. It'll
Right.
turn into another cut through out there as well, so.
Yeah.
Right. That's good information, thank you.
All right, that covers the agenda today. Are there any other issues for today to discuss, to bring up?
I have one question, if I may.
Yeah.
For the resolution regarding the 24 at Delaware Avenue, once the town executes a resolution and provides it to DelDOT, and then DelDOT accepts the information and creates a regulatory resolution, what is the tentative time frame for the four-way, for us to be able to implement the four-way stop after you receive our resolution from council?
So once we get your resolution, we would do similar to the speed, we would do a legal resolution on our end. At the same time, we would be sending the town what is called a right-of-way use agreement, which then covers kind of what's going on, the installation responsibilities, the maintenance, you name it. That agreement would have to also be executed before the town can then pursue the permitting piece of it. But again, we could probably allow you to start kind of, if you are gonna start purchasing signs and material, probably could start mobilizing and getting that information now. But really it would be, once we get the resolution, the right of way use agreement executed, then it really is on the town on kind of the schedule for implementation.
Peter, could you do us a favor, just so something don't fall through the cracks for these four main issues that we discussed today? Could you put it like in an email to Ashley, broken down on each section, what we're required to do so that we don't miss something? And because we only have meetings once a month and, miss a couple of things. We're 3 months down the road now.
So what are the four things that you need me to,
Speed limit,
okay?
the light, if there's anything else that we need to do at PL Boulevard, the four-way at Delaware Avenue and 24, and the speed limit reduction on Radish Road. And if you could give some helpful hints, like on what you want in a resolution, so that.
Well, it's like, I was gonna just say that, Marty. So, if you want to send me a draft ahead of time, that's perfectly fine too. I encourage it so that this way, again, it's whatever you're approving, we've just streamlined it on our end. And also too, we can start kind of getting some of the paperwork already done. So all we're doing is inserting that resolution once it comes across. It's signed by you guys or authorized and then came to my office. So that's why there's things that we can do to streamline some of these pieces. But yes, if you want to coordinate ahead of time on just some verbiage or what's being included, just shoot me an email with that info.
Do we need 3 separate resolutions? We need one for Radish Road, one for Delaware, and one for,
I mean, I'll leave it up to you guys if you want to combine them all into one. But I think it's probably easier if you do it in 3 separate, so that this way, if
there's an issue on one, then you take all 3 down.
correct. And it gives you some time, like, again, if there's thoughts on where you want to extend the limits on the speed limit on Radish Road, again, it
I
allows
hadn't
you to
even
vet
thought
that.
about going beyond Delaware, so. I
Yeah,
think
so that's
that-
why
yeah.
it just allows you some additional flexibility.
I'll have a draft to you by the end of the day today for 24 in Delaware.
Yeah, we've got the prior resolution.
I can just pull it into a new one with,
Yeah,
I don't have the crash data today, but I can send a draft resolution if you can kind of give it a once over, see if it's good, and then we can get a final to you
That's
after
fine.
that. Okay.
That's why even if you don't have if you don't have the crash data, but it's just an insert of kind of what you think it's gonna be. Again, I'll assume you're gonna insert that information in there. But then I'll be able to provide some comments on what you are sending over.
Okay. And so do we want that on the November agenda for a resolution for Delaware Avenue and 24?
Please.
Okay.
I mean, playing devil's advocate here for a little bit, it sounds like we're a ways out with getting all this stuff done. The live date for the light at Plantation Lakes is October 17th. Could there be a possibility that we may look at the traffic data once that light becomes in play and the learning curve with the bypass that we don't even need this?
For Delaware.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, it's a good plan, I think, to put in place, but once this data becomes in play, we may not even.
Well, we don't know the impact of the summer traffic.
Right,
That's
yeah.
the other piece. So I think it would make sense to proceed on a parallel path, and to execute or not, we have that option.
Yeah. Okay.
And I guess I do want to highlight a couple things with the all-way. So it's not just signage, so there is some pavement markings
Yes.
that would
Right.
need to occur. And then also too is as part of that, it would be I assume you would have a contractor deploy portable message boards. So that would be just something else. So when you think about the procurement time and the scheduling, that can also play into when it would be implemented.
And it would be the stop sign with the red flashing light for the new signs.
That's what we would have to order
Yeah.
from their sign shop.
That's,
We don't supply
Yeah.
we don't supply the
that's
device.
solar powered or hardwired?
We do solar powered. We also have some that are hard powered, but these would be solar if you want. There's some that are battery powered. But again, it's a device that the town would maintain, so it would be at the discretion of the town as to what you want to procure.
But just to clarify, does your sign shop sell those?
We do not.
Yeah,
We
so I-
only sell the signs.
Can you get me, do you have a contact for a vendor that you guys have used?
I can get you one.
If
I
you
will
don't mind.
say they're not cheap. They're in like the $4,000 to $5,000 price tag.
Okay.
And those are the solar. But again, there's other vendors that are
Yeah.
out there. The battery powered is a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
And some municipalities have chosen to do that.
If you think of it, if not, I can do, find pretty much anything anymore, but if we were ordering other signs from the sign shop anyway, I figured we could add it to them, but if you don't supply them, we'll find them somewhere else.
This is a sign, a temporary sign that's gonna be up there, or just gonna be a permanent?
No,
sign?
permanent sign,
Permanent
yeah.
sign.
Until the
But-
traffic signal, if we get.
But you're talking about possibly adding a flashing red
Yeah.
to the new stop signs.
Mhm.
And then again, that's up to you all. Just so you know, there are certain situations where when it's our, in the county, it's our responsibility where we will do that for like part-time to like until people get used to it, and then we do remove it.
Remove it.
And then, and again, you all drive around. There's other places where we leave them up all the time.
Got
So
it.
that's kind of it's a judgment call on our part. And again, you all could leave it there forever, or you could take it down after a few months. And
So with that, is that tied to speed? Because we're not talking high speed at that intersection. We're talking about 25 miles an hour, all
I
four.
think we factor speed into our decision.
So
Yeah.
the 25, I mean, definitely because it's a new stop sign, the red flashing, but longer term, since it's not high speed and will be limited by the traffic still in the Plantation Lakes, it's gonna slow people
They
down.
also have the poles with the reflective red on them too, which helps.
Yeah, so
Okay,
typically our process is, again, any new always stop. I'll say more on the county side. We would install those flashers. Typically, it would be a 6-month period. And we'd say, okay, that's your quote unquote honeymoon period. We then evaluate the data and then see if there's any other issues with the new change. If not, that's when we then say, okay, we're going to remove it. There have been cases where we have seen, whether it's more of like a sight distance issue or something, again, vegetation overgrowth over a certain period of time. So we've left the beacons out, and then we're usually removing them around the 1-year mark.
Got it.
And just on a side note, I don't know if this needs to be in a resolution or not, but one of the things we were thinking of with the light at Plantation Boulevard and 4-way at Delaware Avenue, that is going to direct people to the bypass also, because they're like the Waze is going to tell them, it's quicker to, go down Godwin School and pick up the bypass and as to go through the middle of town. So we try to look at it from a holistic point of view of diverting traffic to the bypass. And we think the Delaware 4-way would do that. I don't know if that's important in the resolution or not.
I mean, I'm not gonna deter you guys from putting kind of your thought process in it. Again, it can be utilized as information as how to justify the change. So I'll leave that to your discretion as to what you include, if you include it or not.
Okay.
the only thing I could think of that's new for you to kick around is some type of a roadway connection going from 24 East over to Hardscrabble, or was that 30? Other than Godwin School Road. So I had mentioned a while back about a dedicated truck route. And now to link up with the bypass. So how feasible is that? Does that require land acquisition or very, very high level preliminary? Would that be helpful?
So I wasn't directly involved, but my understanding when we were regrouping on the alternatives, which eventually became the North Millsboro bypass, right? So that was a second round, right? Previously, we had a full bypass of Millsboro, and then that through public comment was public comment, coordination with the town, coordination with the legislators, we kind of went back to the drawing board and ended up with this. But as part of when we were regrouping on what became the North Millsboro bypass, we looked at some options that either upgraded some of the roads out there like Godwin School. I don't know if they looked at any, I don't think they looked at any like full new alignments out there, but they did look at some options that upgraded some of those roads. I need to go back and check with our staff on the history. I don't know if those were not included in the project because there was public opposition or because we felt there wasn't a need. I'm not sure. I'd have to go check, but I know that, I want to say 2015 timeframe, 2015, 16, when we were rethinking what's going to happen, they did look at things west of 113. And obviously they did not become part of the project. So I can check on that. Now, that's the history. Moving ahead, so you're thinking of upgrades to existing roads or all new roads or
Both.
any of the above?
Both.
Any of the above.
So Godwin School Road right now is getting expanded and shoulders added and
Mhm.
paving and that kind of thing. That road in its finished product, will that be able to accommodate trucks going down there? Is that?
So, and then all those improvements are, they're development led, right? So that's
Right.
not so DelDOT helped, in working with everybody that those were requirements of, and I don't even know which development it is. I don't know, you might know which development that is. So, I think my understanding is that the traffic projections that we had as part of the bypass project was that there was not expected to be some monumental increase of either regular traffic or truck traffic on the roads west of 113. So I can go back and pull again from a historical perspective, we can go back and pull what those predicted traffic volumes were going to be.
Right.
But now moving ahead, if something's not if it's not a developer requirement, DelDOT doesn't have anything on the books. And so anything major like a road widening or a new alignment, that is a very long process. It goes through the county. It goes through our long range planning section. It goes through our capital transportation plan. We just had our hearings last week on our FY 27 to FY 32 capital transportation plan. And there's nothing, nothing. So the 113 widening project is in our capital transportation plan, but nothing new, right? Certainly nothing new. So if the town has a desire for something bigger, probably it would be discussions with our planning division first to do some level of planning study. And then it would be coordinating with the county to kind of put it on the wish list for a future capital transportation plan.
Yeah. So that's my concern is that there's some work that's planned for 113 widening
Mhm.
at the intersection of 24. So if the Godwin School Road, as it's being expanded and widened a bit now, is not a good route for trucks, then that only leaves the option of continuing east on 24 to 113 and making a left turn.
Correct.
And, provided that by that point, there'll be some kind of a truck restriction on taking 24 business going through the town. And what is that going to do to the traffic as a
Mhm.
result?
Correct.
And the queuing. So that now may overwhelm the Delaware Avenue intersection once you start to queue up trucks there. Ideally, I'd like to see something west of Godwin School Road, whether it's I guess it has to be a new road, to connect over more directly to the bypass, out of a residential area, ideally.
Yeah, there's not much out there. I mean, you could take Pear Tree, Gumboro, maybe. But everything is country roads with developments and farmland that shoots over to Hardscrabble Road. Godwin School is almost the only viable option. If I'm a trucker.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just honestly, like, if you're looking for like new alignment, you're talking, at least a decade, if not longer. Like that's, I'm not happy about it, but that's how the transportation planning, design, environmental process works. I mean,
understand.
right, the studies that resulted in the North Millsboro bypass started in 2000. So it's been 25 years, and obviously that was part of the whole 113 Sussex corridor of, from Milford all the way to the state line.
Yeah.
But, this bypass 25 years later was the very first piece of that whole plan to get implemented.
Mhm.
We have other parts in the works, the widening, the grade separation at 404 up in Georgetown. We're working on the design on Route 9, but yeah, these big transportation projects, there are hundreds and hundreds of federal rules and regulations, and every year they add. I've yet to see anything be reduced. Now we have a federal administration that is different now, so maybe some things will be reduced, but it's again, like just something like a new alignment, you're at least a decade away.
Okay.
And that's like if everything went well. Because again, there's a whole front end planning process of initial feasibility studies. And then when that, even when that part's done, then it has to be, again, go through the county, get put into our capital transportation plan. There has to be funding. And then eventually that's when, after you get through all that, it gets programmed. And then it comes to my shop at DelDOT, and then we start the more detailed environmental studies and the
Right.
design.
Right.
And that can take, again, like the North Millsboro bypass, I'd have to go back and check, but yeah, we were working on the environmental studies for that for a long time. So yeah, transportation improvements take a very long time. Honestly, the fastest way that they get done is when it's a developer required improvement.
Right.
Again, like if the idea of widening Godwin School Road was going to be a public project, it would be years and years away. But because it was a developer improvement, it happened much faster.
Understand. Okay.
But I
What-
guess, oh, sorry.
Whatever you could find with the history connected to the bypass of the areas west of 113 would be helpful.
But I guess another piece I thought of, because you guys are already having, conversations with some of the trucking companies, or at least some of the local. I'd be interested to know, like, we know their destination, but like where they starting from.
Right.
Like, and
Right.
so like, is it a 13 kind of corridor that they're starting from?
How far
And
west?
then
Yeah.
is there options all the way, say, out on 13 when you get to, say, Laurel Road, or you get to 9, some things along those lines where maybe there's some more encouragement or guide signs that could be placed out there to maybe deter or to at least guide somebody, especially the truckers, to not use Laurel Road to then capture
Yeah.
that section. So I would be interested, when you are making or having those conversations with some of those companies, if you are able to obtain kind of at least that origin piece,
Right.
then maybe we can start looking at kind of how far west could we chase this.
Yeah, we've dealt with some of the logistics folks, so I'm sure they probably already have that data, I'm guessing. Because they have, regular growers that are bringing product there. So it's not a one shot deal. So I would imagine they already have that data.
And they'll be at the next downtown committee meeting. So Peter, if you have interest, I can send you a Zoom link if you have any desire to speak to them one-on-one to banter off of their answers, if it helps to get us more
If
information.
you want to send me it, that's
Okay,
great.
if you're
And,
available.
if I'm available,
Okay.
I certainly can attend.
And
have
it,
those
it wouldn't
conversations.
hurt to have them here at this session as well. We get a little bit more into the data that you've collected and sharing of data. Because they've been very cooperative to date, so.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look, if you're standing in Millsboro and you're looking toward Ocean City, Pittsville, Seaford, Laurel, there's almost like a straight line there that if I was a trucker, that it's going to be more feasible to cut over and get on 20 and come down to the bypass. But if you're coming from, Worcester County, if you're coming from Pittsville, Powellville area, 24 still makes sense. You know what I mean? So it's certainly going to divert some of that traffic, probably like halfway between Pittsville and Laurel. Probably half of that traffic, it's on, the northern side will come down 20, but I still think the southern part of that is they're going to come down 24. It just makes sense.
Right, and then it's just right. Are they turning up, like, again, the public complaint that came in was they're going up Godwin School and they're
Right.
cutting across Sheep Pen, or are they coming down to 113?
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, honestly, once they've gotten to Godwin School, again, that's a decision we're gonna have to jointly make. Do we consider jointly truck restrictions on Sheep Pen only, on Sheep Pen and Godwin School? We'll have to figure those things out, or do we let the truck drivers distribute themselves and
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting.
do we kind of share the pain? Does some of it go up Godwin School? Does some of it stay on existing
Right,
24? And again, you kind of just let the drivers make their own decisions, or again, do we put more formal restrictions on some of these roads?
I think once they get the work done on Godwin School, because truck drivers not going to return there this week. I mean, they've got flaggers and backing up and everything. Once that work is completed, then we'll have a better idea of how much traffic is cutting through Sheep Pen Road there.
Right.
When are you thinking when do you anticipate the widening will start for 113? We had a meeting with Home Depot yesterday and they were curious. And I think y'all have a meeting with them.
I don't have the schedule in front of me, and in fact, like we're kind of resetting the entire way that we schedule projects, because all of the obstacles that end up slowing our projects down, we're really, and you can even see it. You can see, if you pull up online at the DelDOT website, the draft 27 to 32 capital transportation plan. We've removed the right of way and the construction phases from a lot of our projects that are earlier in design, because it's such a crapshoot as to what the schedule is going to be.
Sure.
So again, even when we're deep in design and this project, I don't know where we are, somewhere between preliminary and semifinal, wherever we are, there's so much public involvement still, utilities, right of way, and environmental things that are a lot of those are outside of our control, that we've just consistently been overly optimistic, and we're going to stop doing that.
Yeah.
So in other words, we're not even going to put a date out there. We're just saying we're working towards finalizing. And then when we get to a certain trigger point of, okay, we have a good design, we have final right-of-way plans, we've gotten our appraisals, we have a really good handle on what those costs are going to be. Now we're going to program out that right-of-way cost. And then somewhere because I'm reviewing this right now, some of the projects we've done over the last 5 years, our right-of-way phase on bigger projects can last anywhere from a year to 5 years, right? So, and the 113 widening project, it's more than just widening 113. It's making modifications to the side streets, which are going to have right-of-way impacts. So I don't know off the cuff how much, or acres or number of properties we're going to be impacting, but it's going to be several. It's going to be many. And so again, our right-of-way phase alone could be several years. So I think we're not really advertising a schedule on that right now, is the long and the short of it. And we're not just picking on Millsboro or that project. It's just in general, we're going to kind of let projects get farther along and then schedule right-of-way and construction more when we have a much better handle on it.
Got it.
Jamie, do you know, or maybe you guys know, when you're coming down 24 and you would be approaching the Plantation Lake light, that bend with the trees there, the trees are what blocks your field of vision. Do we know who owns that, or is that in DelDOT right away? Or because if you can cut those trees down, then the risk goes tremendously down. But you can't see until you get past the trees on that bend.
I mean, they could be in our right of way. I don't know. I'm not sure.
You're talking west of the intersection?
Yeah.
Heading eastbound?
Yeah, right there, Godwin School where the road bends.
I think they have a produce
They
stand
have a
there.
little produce stand.
Yeah, they're
right there,
outside
yeah.
of town.
Mhm.
I'm talking back further west where Godwin School intersects there.
Almost near the park, where the new park
That-
will
Next
be.
to the pump station, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I mean, there's humongous pine trees there.
yeah, they're
that
outside
block-
of the town limits, so they might, if they're in,
I thought that side of the road was in town limits.
not those parcels.
Or
The
Kabong,
pump
yes.
station is, but then those single family homes, the cemetery, the other homes are all in the county.
Yeah.
Plantation Lakes goes behind them, but yeah,
Outside.
they're all in the county. Same with the parcels that went up for auction. Some of them were in the county, some were in the town, so. That whole corridor from Godwin up to Kendall, it's a, you know, a patchwork of in town, out town.
Yeah, it's only probably 15 feet off the roadway where those trees are. If you cut down 15 feet of those trees, it would open up the field of vision tremendously. And you'd be able to see the light from a mile away.
I mean, if they're 15
You're
feet off the road, they're probably
talking
on
these
private
guys here.
property.
Yes.
Yeah.
believe
Yeah,
that.
that's the
Not
guy that has the
definitely,
little
but
produce
probably.
stand right there.
I got a picture of it here, Limers.
Your snowy picture.
You submitted the pictures originally.
Yeah, with original resolution, we put it in there. But this is where the light is gonna be looking west. So that's where the bend is, right there.
Mhm.
If you cut these trees down here, you would be able to see the light almost all the way back to Mumford. So if that little stand of trees could be cut all the way down, that field of vision opens up tremendously. That's wintertime picture, so there's no leaves on it. When it's summertime, you can imagine when it's full of leaves, it blocks it even further.
So I did have one new thing. The 113 at I'll say the shopping center with AutoZone, Harbor Freight, some other.
Oh, this,
I-
the left turn
the
going,
left turn, yeah.
going north.
Right.
Correct. So you have the aerial image. So there was during the public process that Mark just mentioned for the 113 widening, there was an idea of how do we, from a short-term perspective, could this intersection be looked at to reduce conflict points? And when we talk short-term, it's like signing and pavement marking scenarios. So we have a concept where we can really just eliminate I'll say the eastbound left to go north, from the access. You could still allow the left turn northbound. It would then have everybody that is coming out of the facility or the businesses, they would be forced to turn right and then utilize, say, the network and existing traffic signals to make their U-turn. So I would say it doesn't need a resolution, but we would want some kind of, whether an endorsement or something, just support from the town on the idea. And then if we have that support, we can certainly, we've already started having like preliminary discussions with the area legislators. We at least told them that we were gonna be having conversations with you guys. And so then we would just, once we get kind of the support and the endorsement, then we can then kind of mobilize and kind of formalize that idea. Don't know how you wanted to kind of treat that idea, if it's something that this committee could endorse, or if it needs to go to full council. I'll kind of defer to you guys with regards to your process.
Now, with regards to this, and it's not too far away, physically, is the bollards between, PJ's and behind Starbucks.
They're related to it.
So when you eliminate this turn capability here, it even puts more emphasis on removal of those bollards to permit emergency vehicles to traverse that area.
And DelDOT has, I think you told us before, you don't really have any
They don't have
sway
anything
or
to do
authority
there.
over that. Forcing them to remove.
Yeah, I don't
bollards.
think so. Like I said, I don't know if you all have anything in the record plans or whatnot that said that that is supposed to be interconnected.
There is some language in some of the documents that we have saying that interconnection between adjoining properties is supposed to be. It was not in the original site plan for the bollards to be there, and they've never pulled a building permit to construct bollards. We did look into that.
I mean, we can support you on this, no left turn east going on 113 north. And then, support from yourselves on emergency egress, removing those bollards. Because it makes sense alongside a busy roadway like 113, which you could be bumper to bumper in the summer. And if the only way that emergency services can get from one point to another is through that route, then by all means, it should be open up free and clear.
Probably be a safer way to do a U-turn than try and get over when the traffic's backed up southbound up 113 to get all the way over to try and make the U-turn there.
If you, there's also another
Yeah.
access
instead of
route
coming out
design,
and
and I think you
down
told me,
here.
Jamie, it should be, if that other piece of property is sold.
When it's developed.
When it's
Yeah,
developed,
The
then-
one on Handy Road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then all that traffic could be diverted on
Yeah.
that side to the traffic signal.
The only concern I would have, and I brought this up in, I would like to hear the feedback from the legislators before we, see what they have to say
On the no left here.
on the no left. Yeah. Cause
So
you
that-
had
but
talked
if-
to Rich Collins, but not the Senator Hawker or Senator Pettyjohn is what the last update we had called just the other day, so.
But even, isn't there other barriers between like AutoZone and the?
Oh,
like,
yeah, there's no.
You can't get all the way
connection
from up
between that
there, right?
Shopping center and Hertrick, but if you stay in that right-hand lane, if you can't go across to go northbound there, coming out of AutoZone. If you get in the right-hand lane, make the right-hand turn,
Mhm.
and then you heading south on 113, and then you have to cross over 2 lanes of traffic to then hit the U-turn up at Centerview.
Mhm.
You could alternately turn right, head south on 113, pull
Oh.
into Farmers Bank of Willard's right there, and then use the interconnect to then
Instead of making a U-turn,
instead of
Yeah.
crossing.
you still have to come out on the one
113, You still would
thirteen,
have to come out on one
but
thirteen.
you kind of like make a big
You
jug
just
hand.
stay in
Yeah.
the right hand lane
You're coming
because that
out.
lane, that left lane backs up forever. I mean, you're just gonna see a bog
Mhm.
down. You're gonna have people trying to shoot into that left lane on 113 and then to go get the U-turn, because otherwise if they miss it, they gotta go all the way down to where suburban
And
propane is.
it's a
to turn.
very short
Yeah.
signal there too. Is it lucky if three
Yeah.
cars could make that
Mhm.
U-turn
So,
during it?
Did Representative Collins give any reasoning what he didn't support it for, or is it just?
I would suggest speaking to him
I'll reach out to him.
directly
Okay.
about any concerns
Okay.
or thoughts that even if you want to reach out to the other legislators as well.
Rich is he's very good to the town, and I'd like to just make sure everybody keeps them.
Understood.
And then I mean, so you just want like a letter of support that we agree that would help
To have.
safety and network connectivity.
Interconnectivity.
Because again, without any authority, like
Yeah. And council years ago, way before my time, Ron, you could weigh in on this, I had pushed for connectivity for these exact situations.
Right.
And that was, we
There-
see it in other towns.
There again, this is a learning experience.
Yep.
That we've learned, like Ashley said, we now have that language in there that talks about the cross connection, but at this particular time, it was go into detail, but yeah.
And the pavement I haven't been back there. The pavement all literally ties together. Just the bollards need to be removed or.
There's also a bit of a drop.
It's a
but-
curve, but there's a little grade.
We have a
differential.
quote coming in from Hopkins. They went out a couple weeks ago and looked at it, just so we can submit a quote with, we're hopeful to have a letter from DelDOT as well as our representatives and the fire department
Mhm.
and Sussex County EMS is also gonna write a letter because they are,
I
in
think
the park.
every one of those other agencies you said is has a bigger influence than my agency.
every letter we can get helps, yes, yes.
Dealing with an.
Police,
state
EMS
property.
and legislators, like, those are all the ones that I'm deferring to anyway, most of the time.
We
Yeah.
did, at least I heard back from when I submitted a letter to the gentleman down there, to the property owners, the guy called me back and said, look, we don't really care, just who's gonna pay for it. That was their big thing is I don't think they really balked at taking the bollards out. It's just who was gonna pay for it and who was gonna pay for the grading of the.
Well, I think
right
subsequent
there,
to
so-
that, didn't they say we don't want it regardless of who pays for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no
I
one's doing
reached
it.
out to him a
Right.
couple of weeks
Yeah.
ago and
And-
he said, we don't, he
Because
said, he said, submit
wear
your,
and tear on.
have your
their
legal
pay.
representative
exactly.
submit a letter to our
Ridiculous.
legal team. So that's why Mary's reviewing it now and she's supposed to be
She-
getting back to us.
She reviewing the legal aspect, if they didn't get a permit to put them in. we can-
Yes.
Yep.
We can
Yeah.
double them out.
Because that's the
So-
part I don't know. There's got to be some legal recourse. I don't know what it is when they put something in that wasn't on a plan that you all approved, right? Like
Yep.
there's
Right.
got to be
No
something,
permit
but I
after the fact.
right.
either.
I don't know. I just don't know what that is and how how the town can force the issue. But okay, got it.
That would be
Adjourn.
a simple solution. if-
Right.
if they pull out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So to your point, I think probably council would have to, I would just say we could present this to council. I just want to talk to Rich and Senator Pettyjohn and Senator Hawker, just to make sure that they understand and what their feeling is, and we'll let you know what they say, and we can put it on the agenda. I mean, would the committee have any issues with supporting that change to write in, write out only?
No,
Nope.
it's almost suicide in the summer trying
No,
to
it's
do that
all-
anyway.
It's a
Yeah.
horrible.
So we'll look at that for November. Should be able to talk to Rich between then.
Yeah, is it, I've always heard this as kind of maybe it's a rumor that crossover could not be closed because it's deeded to that property, to that
Really?
shopping center. Is that right?
I don't know,
Okay.
first I heard.
That would be weird, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That would be weird.
I've
not,
always heard that as a kind of a scuttlebutt that we couldn't close that crossover.
that
because-
doesn't sound right. I'm not.
It
familiar with
doesn't,
that
but I-
anywhere. And so now again, like they might think that, or
Mhm.
again, that was likely on, so I don't know the history of that. Did that crossover get installed when the shopping center came in, or did the shopping center line themselves up with the crossover that was there already? I don't know. I mean, we could probably figure it out, but we modify crossovers on a, it's not that it's not controversial, but we we modify crossovers on a pretty regular basis. I've never heard that one before.
And once the expansion of 113 takes place, where there's 5, 10, 15 years down the road, most of those crossovers are going to be shut down anyway, right? I mean, you're only going to have signalized crossovers. I would think with a 3-lane road. Right?
Correct. So this one, I believe gets closed as part of that widening project. So we're just saying, we can do something in the short term, which at least minimizes some of the conflict points instead of going to the more critical of closure completely.
Yeah, I'd have to look up what the plan is for the rest of the crossovers, but certainly we're evaluating every intersection within the project limits, the crossovers, the signals and everything. So, and yes, I think a lot of them are either going to, be recommended for closure, or certainly like we're talking about here, reducing the number of movements. So, yep.
Anything else? Well, gentlemen, thank you for your time. I mean, this is
Thank you.
invaluable. I mean, the downtown of Millsboro is going through a change along with the bypass. So we're trying to steer things in the right direction. There's a lot of interest all of a sudden in developing the downtown as a result of that truck traffic being removed. So it's all good.
Great.
So we appreciate the cooperation. Have a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second,